Happy New Year, everyone. Yes, it's almost a week later, but as far as I'm concerned, as long as it's within a week, I can still say it. And anybody watching this, I probably haven't talked to you. So Happy New Year, everyone. And I hope your holidays were merry and joyful and all that good stuff. Now, before we get into this video, I am going to say I am planning on doing a best of, worst of, what I'm looking forward to in the coming year. And as long as they're within January, I count them as good. Give me a little bit of credit here. I mean, the last time I did something like that was like in June or July, and I only got one of them done. So if I get all three done within January, I'm ahead of myself. Anyway, getting off subject, I am going to my first movie of 2023 tonight, which is Megan. Now, the trailers and the previews had me interested. It looked unique. It looked kind of spooky. It looked like it could be a fun time. And then the reviews started coming out, and I'm like, oh, this is the next Child's Play, which I'm not a Child's Play fan. I mean, I've seen them, and some of them are okay, but that was an interesting take on this. People are said it's like a comedy more than a horror film, and they were laughing, and the kills are interesting, and just all the things in general is just a fun, unique time. And that's really all I want from this movie. So I'm going to go in, and hopefully we can start off the year on a positive note. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, highest rank. It doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10, or in my case, it doesn't have to be a mentor movie to start the year off. But hey, if you get a good movie in January, that's all you can really ask for. If you start off the year good, that's even better. So, welcome to Fandom University in 2023. Hope you stick around for movie reviews, TV reviews, all types of neat fandom stuff, whether it's rankings, discussions. Hope you stick around for the rest of the year. If you haven't subscribed, click on that subscribe button. And more importantly, welcome to the first unedited review of the year. This is Fandom University's unedited review for Megan. Move over, Annabelle. Move over, Chucky. There's a new doll in town. Move over, Jason. Move over, Michael. There's a new killer in town. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun with this movie. I smiled, I laughed, I felt the impact these characters had. I started to get emotional, whether it was having Gemma, the aunt, and Katie, just their interactions. Their story alone, I felt emotional. I felt the connection that they were trying to have, or the hurt they felt. You know, that was part of this movie that you might not expect going into what you would perceive to be just another horror, I can't talk, serial killer movie. And for me, I don't know what people were expecting, to be honest. I mean, somewhere like, I'm sure we're going and expecting it to be a little more serious. We're expecting to laugh as much or think it was as campy as it was maybe to them. But not me. I was just going in to have a lot of fun, enjoy it, see people get murdered, see a half-decent story. And I think I actually got more than I went in, or more than I bargained for. Whether it was the simple story, but yet left an impact because of the characters, like I said. Whether it was the fact that the characters were exactly, well, they did their job. Some, the main ones primarily, doing a better job than the others. And it's like in any horror serial killer type film, you kind of feel bad if you're normal, if you're human, that some people are getting it. Even though, yeah, you kind of are like, yeah, I don't like you. You deserve to get murdered. And this movie does all that. And I had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, so let's just start by looking at the main characters. There's too many characters for me to go into, too many actors and actresses to talk about. But I'll just say all the side characters, from, I'll just call them cannon fodder, to the people she works with, to the parents themselves, to the therapist. All these people are great. They do their job. They actually make you feel what you're supposed to feel about them. But I want to focus on 3 or 4 primary performances. First, Allison Williams as Gemma. She's great. She really brings the emotion to her character, the impact that this tragedy is having on her life. It's something she was not expecting, and you can see how it's tearing her apart, or how she just doesn't know what to do, because this is not how her life was supposed to go. And you see her develop that, and you see that evolution of her character through the entire movie. And I have to say, there was one part of her that I instantly was like, oh, I understand her. I like this woman. There's a moment where she basically talks about collectibles. And I'm like, yep, I agree with you. I know exactly what you're talking about. Because honestly, I'd probably be the same way with kids, or probably will be with my kids when it comes to collectibles type stuff. But she was really good. She really brought Gemma to life. You understood her motivations. You could see why she's not a great person, or why you're supposed to be like, is she really a good match for Katie? But you can see her grow. She felt like a real person. And yes, we've seen this type of person before many times. Somebody obsessed with work. And you know how that story's going to go. But Allison pulls it off really well. It's believable that you don't care. You don't care you've seen that type of story a million times, or what have you. She plays it really well, and you believe every moment of it. Then there's Violet McGraw, who plays Katie. Apparently it's spelled C-A-D-Y. That doesn't make any sense to me. But again, she's great. Whether it's the post-traumatic stress that she's dealing with, or post-traumatic trauma, her connection with Megan. They went places in this movie I didn't expect them to go. Topics that I guess I should have seen coming, or should have expected them to do, but I didn't. Because I was so invested, at least from the trailers, I was invested in the horror serial killer aspect of the film. But man, once the movie started going, and once Violet and Allison started going on screen, and Violet did her scenes, and we started to learn more about her character and her story, and we started to see the impact things are having on her, I got really invested in their story. And a movie that can do that for me is doing a really good job, especially if I'm coming expecting something else, or looking forward to other aspects of the movie. It's like I've said before, it's as if I go to a superhero movie wanting the costume, the power, the superhero aspects, but I leave having focused on the story more. That's what this movie did for me. I went in expecting some fun, entertaining kills, and that would be the focus of the story. But I really have to give credit to these 2 actresses. They made me care about their characters and the rest of the story, not just the violent doll that is out murdering people and other things as well. Now, I want to talk about Megan herself. Megan, when I saw this, or when I watched some behind the scenes videos afterward, I was really impressed. Megan is brought to life by 2 actresses, Amy Donald, I hope I'm saying her first name right, and Jenna Davis. Jenna Davis does the voice. Man, is it creepy. Especially when she goes crazy, which I don't expect that to be a spoiler. We know that's going to happen, or we expect that to happen with this type of movie. She just does really good, and when she's supposed to be sweet and kind and caring, she brings that out too. It really does feel like it's almost a different character. thinking about it now, it's kind of like it's not exactly, but it's kind of like Batman and Bruce Wayne. That Batman is the real character, as many people have said. He's who Bruce Wayne is, and then there's the Bruce Wayne persona. In this instance, Megan's got two different personas, and Jenna brings them both out brilliantly, fabulously. You really believe whatever mode she's in. I have to say, you do believe it. And you can see why people, I mean, we as the audience know, don't trust her, she's going to kill you. But you can understand why people in the movie, in this story, in that world, believe what they're supposed to believe. And then Amy Donald is the physical actress that plays the character. Man, I don't know what was CG, if anything, but the way she moves, her dance that she does that we've seen online is great. I mean, what is it with psychotic dances? I mean, we got Wednesday, now we've got now we've, why can't I remember? Yeah, Megan. I don't know why I totally lost the name for a sec. It's the video I'm doing. But anyway, I mean, we got Wednesday dancing, and now we've got Megan dancing. Wonder who's next. But she really brings the physicality to the character. And it's great. I mean, this girl can move. If she really does move and bend her body in all the twisted ways that Megan does, then she's really, really flexible. And I wish I could move that way at times. But let's move on to the story. I've touched on this in the previous segments. Basically, the story's great. It's a simple story, but there's so much complexity to the characters, to the emotion, to their psyche. And sometimes when the camera just watches just certain things, I mean, I have to mention cinematography for this, because they do a great job, especially with the horror aspect. Like, you know certain things are going to happen where it's like you're hearing people talk, but the camera's focusing in on something else. Maybe they're focusing in on Megan, and you're like, oh, okay, what's going on? What's she thinking? It's great. And I mean, that's really part of the storytelling, is visually, what are we seeing? What are we supposed to be thinking as we're watching this movie? Something else I don't mention too often, the music. Now, first and foremost, I heard a lot of laughter in my theater, and this is probably one of the things a lot of the critics were laughing at. Megan does sing songs, or at least parts of songs, throughout the film. To me, I was like, yeah, this is cute, it's funny, but I get it. It makes sense. It didn't feel dumb to me. But the actual music, the score, it works really well. I mean, it's hidden. You don't really notice it, which is great, which is what a score's supposed to. But all I'm going to say is when we get to that third act and stuff starts to go down, you know it's coming. And the music helps you with that. It's great. So, yeah, we've talked about the performances. Fantastic. The story, solid in my opinion. Visually, it looks fantastic. I mean, even the color scheme, the more I think about it, it's just that tinted enough. It gives you that, tinted feel that's like, it's not quite reality, but it's still there. It's, I guess at times it does have that overtone, or that, I don't remember what it's called, but it's that tilted color feel to it. Talked about the music, talked about the score. There are some things in this movie that I feel, I'm like, did we really need that? Or at times I'm like, wait, I'm a little confused about what's happening. Like, wouldn't this have happened with that? There's small things, just small aspects that are basically in any movie where it's like, hold on, shouldn't we know more about what's going on here? Or how did we get from here to here? You know, there's times where you feel like I'm missing a little bit to fully understand or grasp how everything's flowing together. And I think the easiest way for me to describe it, which maybe I should have said that first, is just the sense of time. We don't really get a feel of how much time has passed. Is it a couple of months? Is it a year? I'm pretty sure it's not a year, but we have a mix of Katie and Megan doing things together, becoming, I'll just say, symbiotic. They're becoming one, or at least they think they're becoming one. You know, we see that, but then we also have the time frame of the business aspect of it and what Gemma's trying to do with Megan as a product, or how her relationship is forming with Katie, you know, between her and Gemma. There's a bunch of things. I think that's my biggest problem with the movie, is just trying to figure out exactly timetable wise how much time has passed, like I said, since the movie began until we get to the end. Because if it's a short amount of time, then maybe things move a little too quickly. But that can also help the film, because you're not really thinking, wait, that's a little quick for this relationship to form or this to happen. I mean, they do give you hints at times, but like I said, overall, that is my biggest complaint, or my biggest problem with the film, is timing and lapse of time in the film. I did want to mention right at the beginning, they open this in an interesting way. And at first, it kind of shocks you, like, wait, what am I watching? But pretty quickly, you snap into, you're like, okay, I know what's going on. I understand why we're seeing this. And I like that they did that. But that opening moment, the way the movie opens, you've got basically two, I'm going to say you kind of got two openings. You have the one which makes sense why they did it, because it's important to the movie on a very, I don't know, middle road, let's say, because it does influence what's going on with Gemma and the company she's a part of. But it's the next part of the opening that sets the scene and sets the stage for the entire movie. To be more specific, it's the inciting incident. And man, this inciting incident, it hits you. They do a great job of just hitting you right in the gut with it, right in the feels. And you're like, somebody says something, you're like, oh, I know what's coming, I know what's gonna happen, but it still shocks you when it happens. Speaking of which, that might be my other small complaint. If you pay attention, they say things, they give you these pieces of dialogue, and you're like, I wonder if that's going to come back and play a part in this movie. I wonder if that's going to come back and play an important aspect of how things are resolved. Now, there are one or two things that I remembered right before they were revealed to be important. I'm like, oh yeah, this is okay. But that didn't take away from the movie for me. And the other thing I do want to say, I keep remembering things. I did want to say this does feel different, though, from Chucky. I haven't seen the Annabelle films, so I can't really say to that. But I like the different take they have on this. All I'm going to say is, if you know how Chucky works, with who believes who with certain things, or who believes who about Chucky and about things that are going on, here it's flipped on its head, and I like that. So overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I definitely recommend it. Is it scary? Yes, there are moments that will scare people. I don't recommend taking young kids to it. If you're not a horror fan, then this movie still probably isn't for you. But for me, it's right at that good level. It's a little below the level I can handle, because like I think I've mentioned, I've watched Halloween, I've watched Nightmare, I've watched a lot of those more gory, R-rated murder, serial killer films. And I can handle those. This is definitely not as bad as those films are, as far as the gore and the violence, because it's rated PG-13. But I had a good time with it. I really enjoyed it. I definitely recommend it. But what do you think? Have you seen Megan yet? If not, what are your expectations? If you have, am I totally right? Am I totally wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. As far as a ranking, I'm going to say this movie gets a sidekick for now, because I really enjoyed it, but it does have a few problems. Anyway, until our next video, don't forget, read what you love, enjoy what you love, and let's all work for a better fandom. I'll see you next time.